Hello YouTube and welcome to a talk video today. Now we are going to have two videos today. One video is going to be this, and another one is going to be The Last of Us Remastered single player. Now I know I'm quite close to the mic, so that might be why it's a bit weird sounding. But today, as you can see by the title, we're going to be talking about the PS Vita. Now what we are going to be talking about is basically, is the PS Vita dead? Is it gone past savable? And I'm basically going to be waiting up, about it, really. And now, personally, I own a PS Vita, and as you guys know, I think, and it's a very good system. For a handheld console, really, in its size, it's very powerful for its size. Really. Now, I got mine, I think, in the first year. I think I got mine. And I've got the first model, actually. I haven't got the slim one. Now, my opinions on the console, and I am going to be honest here, I am planning to, before we start this, I am actually planning secretly to get 3 videos out today. Now, I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but one of them, all I'm going to say, is going to be one of the first ever hardware reviews in Little Bix Games history. Now, I will talk more about it, obviously, in that video. Now, in theory, I should be able to get 3 videos out today, but I don't know if it's actually going to happen. But anyway, let's stay back on subject. So, the PS Vita is a very good system. It's powerful for its size, and it packs a punch, really. Now, as I said, I had the first, I've got the first version of the thing. Now, its game library is pretty good. Now, I know people say that at the start of when the PS Vita actually was made and why it's not got very good sales, is they tried to make it pretty much a handheld PS4, not in power, or a handheld PS3 at that time it would be. They tried to make it have first party big exclusives, third party big exclusives, and everything pretty much. But I think that was a good idea. It was very good. Now, it is savable, I think, and I will explain about that later. Sorry, my PC making a very weird noise. And as I said, I think it's savable. I do. And it's very difficult to explain. I'm going to try and keep my PC quiet. But I'm going to explain it as best as I possibly can. Now, if you don't know, obviously I'm going to tell you a bit of background of it. Now, the PS Vita is a handheld console. It was released by Sony. I'm trying to get my PC to stop buzzing. It was released by Sony in, I think, 2011? 2012, around that date. And it was to compete with the Nintendo 3DS. It was. Now, the Nintendo 3DS had the same problems. It had a botched start, in the way I would put it, that it struggled. It really struggled at the start, same as the PS Vita, which the PS Vita still does. And then the 3DS, suddenly, I think, what was it, they brought out Mario Kart 7, I think it is. They brought out loads of good titles, but not like a home console made title, one like that's exclusive to this handheld, but is made for this handheld. And basically, Sony tried to replicate that. They tried to replicate it, and there's reasons, which I will explain in this video, why that failed. One reason is the design. Now, personally, I like the design because I owned a PSP as well. I don't actually own a PSP anymore, but I did own one, and obviously that's similar design, bar for the analog sticks. Now, I like the design personally, but when you look, if you compare the 3DS and the PS Vita, and even if you compare the DS and the DS Lite and the DSi to the PSP, and obviously 3DS and new 3DS to the PS Vita, etc., the difference is the PS Vita is just one screen. The 3DS, obviously because it's 3 3D or 3 dual screen, as it stands for. That's why it says 3DS, but it's hard to explain. No, anyway, it's like dual screens. So what you can do with the 3DS is it's simply close it. You can put it in your handbag, take it anywhere. Or if you're a girl or if you're a boy, you can just close it, put it in your pocket, put it in a bag that you've got. It's portable. That's what I'm trying to say. Whereas the PS Vita is totally different. You probably need a case for that because it's got no like protection for the screen, really. And I think that was one of the reasons why. And then really, they tried to with the PS Vita, Sony tried to make games that was like PS4 standard, not in graphics because the PS Vita can't handle that. But games that was like PS4 style or PS3 at that time style games for the PS Vita, and it just didn't work. Like, and I don't own some of these games. I own some, but I don't own all. Now, for example, I researched Call of Duty Black Ops Declassified, which, if you don't know, is an exclusive game for the PlayStation Vita. I don't think it was released on the 3DS. I apologise if I'm wrong. I will just actually double check that, just to make sure. I will just double check that while we're here. Yes, it was just released for the PlayStation Vita. Now, as I said, they made this pretty much for it. Now, this was a disaster. From what I've read, it was an absolute disaster. It was buggy. It was really buggy. But the problem is now, if you don't know, Call of Duty, not made by Activision, or kind of, but is like an Activision game. It's like their first party game, not on obviously on a console because they don't make one, but it's like their franchise pretty much, and they let the other developers develop for it. Whereas if you don't know, now after Advanced Warfare, it's now Sledgehammer Games, Treyarch, and Infinity Ward that develops in a 3-year cycle the Call of Duty games. They didn't do this with this one. They actually gave it to a small developer called Instigate Games. And if I remember right from what I'm reading, I'm actually gonna check this. If I remember right, it really went really bad for them. Remember, I don't even think it exists anymore, to be honest. I could be wrong. I think, or correction, they haven't even made a game, because if you actually look at the games, you've got one of them in 2000, which was 74. Another one in 2005, which for the Xbox, PS2 and GameCube was in the 50s. Then it was Conan in 2007 in the 60s, nearly 70s. That was another one for the PS and Xbox Live in above the 60s. Then it was one for PS Move, or PS Move game. That was 53. Then Resistance, which was a PS Vita game, 60. And then they made Call of Duty Black Ops Declassified and got a 33 out of 100. And it was like, I think, really down to it. And as these are saying, it was poor design. I haven't played it, so I can't say this, but from experience, but from what I've read, and this is saying as well, it was down to poor design, and the technical problems with it was stupid. There was like, if you think, and I'm trying to think of a good like a game to actually say this. Now, I am a fan of Medal of Honor, but I'm going to try and use this as an example. As some people said, really, on the consoles, Medal of Honor, and even on the PS4, the PC, sorry, Medal of Honor Warfare was apparently buggy as hell. And let's say that had 50 bugs. This was double, maybe even triple that. And this was a handheld game. So in some perspectives, it can be easier to develop for. In some it can't, but in some it can. So as you can imagine, it didn't go to plan. And I think now they've actually focused more on mobile gaming, so they're more tablet based, I think, from what I'm reading. And basically, they had a lot of games like this. Now, I think the only ones, really, and they have actually shut shop, as this is saying, they don't exist. I thought that was true. And basically, there was a lot of games like this, and not really first party games, as I know of. I could be wrong. But as I know from what I've read, first-party games were fine, made by Sony's like internal studios, so like Naughty Dog, and I can't remember the one that makes Killzone. I cannot remember for the life of me. I will have a look on quickly. I apologise for typing. While this Guerrilla Games, that's it. Excuse me. And basically those were fine, but ones that was third party made. Now I think the only really big exception to this, and was I think, and from what I've played, because I actually played this one, was Assassin's Creed Liberation. That was the exception. And really, they tried to bring like AAA games to a handheld, and people didn't want it as well. They didn't want to have AAA games. They wanted mobile games. And I think it took about a year or two, and Sony started to realise this and clock onto it. And this is when they tried to turn it around. Now, on top of that, before the PS4 was released, they actually had the PS Vita as remote play for the PS3, and it was supposed to have every game all compatible. And there was actually a lawsuit over this because, and I found this out because I originally had a PS3, that a lot, I mean a lot of games was not compatible with it. I mean, let's say the PS3 had, and I don't know the exact number, let's say it had 400 games. About 95% of those was not compatible with remote play on the PS Vita. Whereas with the PS4, about 95% of the PS4 games, bar for the PlayStation 9 games, are compatible with the PS Vita with remote play. Now, so if we look at this really, it's kind of expected as well, but it kind of isn't. Now, my opinion on if it is savable, yes, and I will explain that now. Now, as we know, PS Vita, if you don't know, that is Sony at the moment, their main things is the PS3, which is slowly dying out, and I think it's next year or a couple years, or next year or the year after, sorry, they're actually going to stop the PSN on it, as I know of. And as you can actually tell that if you're a PS Plus member, because they're starting to wind down the games for PS3, you're starting to find it's either one for PS3 or it's ones for like PS3 and PS4, or PS3, PS4 and PS Vita. It's games that you can get on pretty much 2 or 3 of the platforms. Now if you don't know, they also have a thing called the PlayStation TV. Now this is a box basically, and basically it's like a streaming box. And we're actually gonna, and this is linking into what I think could save the PS Vita. Now this streaming box, you can basically, you put like a PS Vita memory card in it, and basically it's like a download one. You download from the PlayStation Store your games. If you've got any games, it downloads. I don't think you can use cartridges from the PS Vita. Obviously you can't put discs in it because it's about the size of like my mouse. And basically, if you don't know as well, you can use PlayStation Vita remote play with some of these. So basically, in other words, and it's kind of remote play, but it kind of isn't, you can play your PS Vita games on the PS TV, as they call it, or PlayStation TV. Now this is a brilliant idea. You can also use remote play on a PS4 to a PS TV. Now this is a very, very good idea. I think it's a very good idea, but I think they should modify it. Personally, if they want to save the PS Vita, I think they should keep that with the PS TV, but they should also make it available for the PS4. So you can actually, and like, this is actually rumored that Nintendo's actually worked out how to do this with the Wii U and the 3DS, and this is actually rumored what NX is. But that you can actually play your PS Vita games on there, even if you do it by remote play. Or even if, like, for example, you can actually, the PS Vita games you have are like compatible on there. It appears on your account. If you've, and this is obviously only going to apply really if you do it like they're on your account, if you actually have the same account on both consoles. Really. And that you can actually download from the PlayStation Store if you own the game for the PS4. Or, and I think this option that I'm going to say here is more plausible, really, because you actually like have a PS Vita, which would sell more units. Or you have to own a PS Vita and you have an app on both the console, PS4, and the handheld console. Now when you want to play your PS Vita games, let's say, for example, I've got Minecraft on it. Say I want to play, and I know it's a bit of a bad example, but let's say I want to play Minecraft PS Vita edition on the PS4. Right, I have to get my PS Vita out. I have to put the Minecraft one in. I start an app on there that's remote play for PS4. Now in there, obviously, and you could even use PS4 Link in this. You'll get your normal options, use PS4 Link, and you get your remote play, second screen, and you'll get your PlayStation Vita remote play option. You click that, obviously you have to have a PS4 and it has to be on, and it connects to the PS4. It searches for it and connects to it. And then pretty much, you'll get a notification, and you can either hold the button and it will load up into that app, or you'll have an app on the actual page for the PS4, your dashboard is the way it should be put, and pretty much you click it and you get your PS Vita screen on it. Now whether you wide that up so it's like the right aspect ratio and stuff like that to the PS4, that's down to you, obviously, if you did do that. But so basically you can play it on there, and now this is why I don't think this would be possible on the PS3, is because, and this is again which would sell both units more, on the PS4 you have a touchpad, if you don't know. Now the PS Vita is touchscreen. So basically what you should be able to do is you get an option, you start the game, you get an option, you can say, right, your touchpad is your touchscreen, and you can just use that pretty much, and you use like your X and your U buttons, not U buttons, circle buttons, that's it, Y and X buttons, sorry, square buttons and triangle buttons, I'm thinking wrong console here, but and basically you can use the touchpad on those buttons, or you can use the controller entirely. And when you have like a touchscreen moment, so let's say, like I think it's MLB something, or Major League Basketball, is it? Something like that. That was on the PS Vita. On the PlayStation TV, if you use the PS4 controller, you can actually use the touchpad on it. I think that should be on the PS4. And in turn, if you use the latter option that I've said, that you actually need a PS Vita, people will start going, well, hold on a minute, I've got a PS Vita, I can use that on my PS4. And then even if it gets that desperate that you actually kind of make two different trophies for it, sold only obviously for PS Vita games, but you can actually play it on the go on the PS Vita, and then get different trophies for both. Or even if you leverage and I think it's the PlayStation Plus cloud, actually, or you even leverage like the cloud pretty much abilities. Probably are gonna happen with PS Plus. If this was to happen, you'd have to be a PS Plus member for it, and you can actually cloud save data. Right, so let's say like you've got to go out somewhere and you take your PS Vita, you can finish playing on your PS4, you can disconnect it, that saves to the PS Plus cloud. You then go onto your PS Vita, load up the game, or you click a button, even on the little like interface kind of thing gives you for a game, and it says sync with cloud, and you sync the data, so you can like pretty much, it's like you pick it up from, you finish the PS4, you get the data from the cloud, then you can go out and play it. That's what I think would save it, really. And there's obviously more, like I think personally you should get more like and it's hard to explain, more like first party games but not AAA. Make something that's unique to that console. So even if you have to make like a new IP, because if you look at like, I think it's Tearaway, they're actually making that for the PS4. And you think, what's the point if you're trying to make something, an exclusive IP to that console? And this is like, I think I've said it previously, this is like, as I said, to go crazy, you don't want to bring it to your other console. And like that, it's like if I had a console and you had a console viewer, and we both had 5 exclusive games, and let's say your console, the viewer, was much more powerful than mine, and I was running out of money, and I said, right, I'm going to release those games on your console, and like we've done the licensing thing and stuff like that. What is there for my console? My console's less powerful. My games you can get on your console, nothing for it. And this is what I'm saying. You need to give the incentive for it. If you put that incentive in, make it sort of like it's kind of like an accessory, pretty much. It would make it. It would probably increase the sales extremely. And like if you pump out those exclusive but not AAA games, you pump out those exclusive like mobile type games, you can get the more sales in, which will make the more incentive to buy it, which means increased sales. Sorry. That is honestly what I think could save it. I don't think really, and like I don't think they need more hardware revisions really. I think it's savable, but it's gonna take a lot of work, and I don't think it's gonna be that expensive to save it. Like, for example, even if like in a like really desperate attempt, even if like for example you've got the PS4 and the PS3, you've got, let's say you've got The Last of Us, like as we do that on the channel now, we're doing a series on that. You've got The Last of Us. Why don't you make a spin-off game? So like let's say The Last of Us 2 is in development, right? Let's say The Last of Us 2 doesn't include Ellie or Joel. If you don't play, that's the main characters pretty much of the game if you haven't played it. Now let's say, okay then, what you do is you make a spin-off game that shows after the events of that, but it's only for PS Vita. You can only buy it on PS Vita. To make the incentive, so like if someone plays The Last of Us on the PS4 or the PS3, they can go, well, hold on, to help the ending of the story, I can buy a PS Vita and I can play that game, the spin-off of it, which will tell me more about the story. If you're so, for someone like me or someone like some people that are so dedicated to a game, like even if it's first party games you've got to do it for, if you do a spin-off game that tells like some events that's not shown in the second or in other games that's in that series, it would make people want to buy it. And like with that, I reckon you could save it. But I'm afraid, guys, on that note, I'm gonna have to end. Now, as I said, I'm gonna try and get 3 videos out today. If I can't, it'll be then the video that is planned, the hardware review, as I've just said, that is planned will be out tomorrow. Now, as you know, the second video that is confirmed is The Last of Us episode 19. That's confirmed for today. So on that note, I'm going to say subscribe if you want to see more great content. Like if you like, dislike if you dislike. Comment and let me know what you think. If you just want to say hi, if you want to say any improvements, etc. I share as much as you can. I'm going to say thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you next time. Cheers.